Welcome to the Digital Social Hour, guys. I'm your host, Sean Kelly, joined with my co-host today, Charlie Cavalier, and our lovely guest today, Sage.
We are at a huge conference called the 10X Growth Conference with our partner, Grant Cardone, promoting 10X Health.
Amazing. Let's dive right into it. Tell us about 10X Health.
So my partner in crime and in life, Gary Brecka, we both started this company called Streamline Medical Group about 6-7 years ago. And Grant Cardone actually became one of our patients and wanted to get involved. We helped change him, get his health back on track. He's a, if you know him, he's a 65-year-old man who is operating now like, 25 years younger, ball of energy. But he got involved with us and acquired our business about 1.5 years ago. And we are scaling, building, franchising, and the goal is to put 1,000 clinics across the country in the next 36 months. So we are on a mission to change health and wellness, change people's views on it, and get everybody feeling better.
That's incredible. So how did you guys meet Grant Cardone in the first place?
He was introduced to us by a good friend of us named Alex Morton. And Alex was going to invest in his fund. And he told Grant, I'm not going to invest in your fund unless you do this test with these guys. You got to get on a call, talk with these guys. And he was like, I have billions of dollars. I can see any doctor I want. And he was like, why do I need to talk to this guy? And he's like, I'll invest with you if you make this phone call and do these tests. And his life and our life has been forever changed since that introduction.
Wow. Yeah, he's looking a lot better actually lately.
Yeah, he's ripped.
He's 65.
Yeah.
And he is operating, like you said, 20, 30 years younger than anyone would expect. What do you attribute to being the ability for you to bring people back to where they used to function at?
So it's, honestly, we do two main tests. We do a gene test that is called a methylation gene test. So we look at 5 actionable genes. So, genes like your hair, your color, your eye color, you can't make any changes. But these 5 genes, if they're not functioning properly, then they're actionable genes, as in we can take the proper raw materials, whether through food, diet, supplementation, and correct the function of those genes. So we take a look at those 5 genetic markers, and then we do a blood test, which measures 64 biomarkers, and really dive deep on people's hormones, lipid panel, kidney function, liver function, their deficiencies, B12, D3, homocysteine levels, throwing out a lot of big words here, but ultimately the idea is try to get people back in balance. And the biggest thing that we hear from people when we get everything back in balance, take the things that are too high, bring them down low, things are too low and bring them up high. They're like, oh my God, I feel amazing. And the biggest thing that we always say is, you don't feel amazing, you actually feel normal. This is how you're supposed to be functioning. This is how you're supposed to feel. You're not supposed to be tired all the time and, not sleeping at night and just, crashing in the middle of the afternoon. So.
Wow. So when you have all these measurements from the patients, you're able to predict their lifespan?
So that is a specialty of my fiance, Gary Brecka. So he used to be in the life insurance world where he was a mortality expert. When we met, I didn't even know that was a job that people could have. But if you think about it, if you take out a life insurance policy, and we're not talking like a $100,000 one, you're talking millions. If somebody's going to take out a $50 million life insurance policy, that company wants to know how healthy is this person, and ultimately when are they going to die.
Right.
So he would take 5 years of demographics and 10 years of health history, medical records, and he could literally, through all of his extensive knowledge of reading labs, as a human biologist, and with a photographic memory, which is super impressive, he could read through somebody's labs and really be able to tell, with the medications that they were taking, the doctors that they were seeing, the injuries that they had, be able to figure out when they were going to die to the month, which
that's crazy.
That
insane.
is crazy. That's a little scary, and that's a skill that would probably come with a lot of power and responsibility, right? Because the way people take that information once given it to them, do they usually respond well? Do they freak out? What is people's reaction?
You don't tell these people that. This is just information for the insurance company. So he was paid to do these reports, and then he was never allowed to contact the doctor that was treating the patient, and he was never allowed to contact the patient.
Wow.
So even if he saw a life like an alarm go off and say, okay, if this person takes this medication and that medication together, this could kill them, or this is going to shorten their lifespan. He couldn't reach out to the patient and be like, hey, you shouldn't do that. So he always says it's like watching a blind person walk in through traffic and you're standing behind a glass window. Like there's nothing he could do. He would get fired and criminally prosecuted if he actually reached out to anybody.
Wow.
And the weirdest thing that all brought it together for me was when we were first dating. We totally random, after like 20 years of him doing this job and being like one of the top experts in the country, we ended up at dinner in Naples, Florida with one of the patients that he had done a life expectancy on. And we couldn't say anything. We couldn't say a word, even though he knew like this guy is really unhealthy. Whatever he is doing is putting his life at risk. We're sitting across from him at dinner and I'm like, don't eat that, order the salad. But you really couldn't say anything. So it was awful. So he made a decision. He was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to help people feel better. I was in real estate at the time, still have my real estate license, don't really use it anymore. But, and he came home and he was like, I want to start a wellness clinic. And I thought he was nuts, but I was like, okay, well, let's see what this looks like. And I supported and, I did he got to do all the fun stuff and have all the patient appointments and everything. And I did all the hiring and firing and payroll and pay the bills,
Fun stuff.
Oh, so fun. So fun.
Yeah.
But we, took this little tiny clinic from Naples, Florida, and now we're going all across the country and we've got, very vocal patients like Dana White, which is so incredible. So coming back to the life expectancy thing, he only did it for Dana because Dana found out he could do it. And he was like, I have to have that. So we don't do that for everybody, but we did it for Dana. And
Special requests only.
it was a special request, yeah.
Nice.
And it's Dana White. You can't turn him down. But he took that information and made a drastic change. So, and he's, he has not shut up about it, which is so awesome.
Yeah. We need more of those clinics. I couldn't even find one in Vegas.
Right.
What are your thoughts on just in general, the Western medicine culture?
So if I break my arm, I'm going to go to the doctor. I'm going to go to the hospital and I'm going to follow their whatever. But if I'm looking to do preventative health and wellness, I'm going to stick with what we do, more functional, holistic side, because I truly believe that anything that you put in your mouth is affecting not only your gut, but it's affecting your mental state. And that's a lot of what this gene test is going to show us. The fact, it's almost like a personality test. Like when I get your results, even though I know nothing about you guys, I can look at these 5 genes and be like, okay, I see that you have anxiety or you have anxiousness, which are 2 different things. Anxiety is a fear of the future and worrying about things that have not happened yet. I always have like a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, just in case all goes wrong and we, all die. That's when my anxiety gets really bad. Anxiousness is more like a present, like I don't like to be late. Everything has to happen right now. They get very spun out in the present moment. Sometimes people have both, which just means they're worried all the time, which I feel bad for those people. That's where depression lies. If someone has a panic attack or they have suicidal thoughts, that's when I'm like, okay, you probably have an MTHFR genetic break, and that is solvable. We can calm those anxieties down. We can calm the depression down. But it's all about, I have that break, and I lovingly call it the motherfucker gene. So about 44% of the population, if not more, have this genetic break. And if you have it, you have to watch out for certain things in your diet. You have to take the right supplementation, and it will all calm down. As long as I take my vitamins every morning and I eat well, I don't feel the anxiety or the panic when tough stuff is coming at me during, even just opening up your email in the morning can just be overwhelming sometimes.
Wow.
But as long as I take my vitamins before I get to my emails or attack my phone, my phone calls, I'm calm about it. We can see ADD, ADHD. I can tell if someone is like, has OCD to the point they have like a serial killer closet. It's wild. Got some eyes over here.
We just took the dark triad test. Have you taken that one?
No, what's that?
It measures your worst traits.
Oh, okay. It's like good and bad. I always tell people that gene is like, it's called the COMP-T gene. And those are my type A personalities. They're usually entrepreneurs. They like things a certain way. They're very like particular about things. It's good and bad. You don't take direction very well from people, but it means you really, you're hard on yourself and you're like the ultimate overachiever. But it's tough because then you put that pressure on other people and you expect them to be like you, and then you're disappointed in them when they don't
I kind of have that.
do things like that. So I can see that in someone's genes and they're like, how do you know this about me?
So how much of it is nature over nurture or vice versa, right? Like you obviously get people's, biological information, their genetic information. How much of that do you take into effect compared to what they do in their lifestyle?
I think that's a great question. And I think there's a big piece to it. Think about motivational speakers or pastors or people that are super into meditation and prayer and yoga and things that are calming. That is usually whenever I see someone that is a big motivational speaker up on stage, telling everybody how to, be positive and do great things and blah, blah, blah. They usually have the worst genes. And it's literally because they are just trying to manage their own crazy and they're teaching other people how to do that too. And so sometimes I'm just shocked when I see it, but it's over and over again that I'm like, wow, you just seem like the most happy, positive, amazing person. And in reality, they are struggling internally with what's going on. So I think that you can go that route. You can be the person that takes the crazy and, really manages it well with prayer, meditation, whatever, calming techniques you're using. Or you can go the opposite route and you're going to be a total psycho. You can, end up in jail. So it's like, what parents did you grow up with? What household environment did you live in? And how are you managing that crazy? Because I can see if somebody's got a nasty temper.
Really?
There's a break that if you are yellow, then I'm like, okay, it's snappy temper. I'm always polite when I do somebody's lab review. I'm snappy. If it's red, I'm like, oh, you're nasty.
Oh, no. So people with bipolar probably have the red.
For sure.
Wow.
Yeah. High highs, low lows, that's where it's coming from.
How do you think we're going to do?
I'm nervous now.
I'm
the
a
more
little
I hear her
nervous.
talk.
You're going to love it. And honestly, people tell me I'm like the best marriage counselor, or when you have partners working together, because I help people understand, okay, he is this way because of this reason. You're that way because of that reason. And then you give each other grace and you give each other patience for your things. So if you do something that drives him nuts and vice versa, then once you know what you're dealing with, you're going to be like, all right, well, you're just being a motherfucker today and you didn't take your motherfucker pills. Sorry, I don't know if I should be cussing this much.
You can say whatever the fuck you want. It's okay.
Okay. I cuss like a sailor, and sometimes it's good and bad depending on the company you're in. But if you see him, like his anxiousness getting the best of him or something, you can be like, hey, did you take your folate pills today? And you go, oh, no, I forgot. I'm going to go take my vitamins. I'll talk to you in 20 minutes.
I haven't taken them yet, just so you know.
I should have brought bottles of them.
This sounds better than a therapist.
It does.
It is better than therapy because when you go to a therapist, listen, I've been to therapy. There are great benefits to it. But ultimately, what got this started was my mental breakdown, to be perfectly honest. And Gary and I butting heads with each other because we are like the yin and yang of each other. We are complete opposites.
Right.
And we got to a place where we're just constantly butting heads. When you work with your spouse, own a business with your spouse, if you have a bad day at the office, you have a bad day at home. I mean, it is what it is. But we really, getting him on the vitamins and getting me on the vitamins completely calmed us both down. Things have never been better in our relationship.
Wow.
I don't say that as like, look at us, we're so perfect. I'm like, we were in a bad place for a while. And after we found this test and the vitamins and we really figured out our diets, oh my God, it's like completely life-changing. And for our kids, I have a 14-year-old daughter who is my best friend when she takes her vitamins and eats well. She's a total asshole when she doesn't. And then that's when everybody's like, well, she's 14 and it's hormones and she's a teenager. Nope. She is amazing when she's taking the vitamins. When she doesn't, that's when we have the issues. So, but 20 minutes later, she pops them in her mouth and she feels better, and then we can have a normal conversation.
Wow, that's incredible. I can't wait to see this.
Yeah.
So you've been able to work with people like Dana White, David Portnoy. You were on the Kardashian show. How are you able to land such notable clients?
So one thing we've always sucked at was marketing and advertising. Everything has been word of mouth. So once think about it. If I help you and you feel amazing and you're like, holy cow, this was life-changing, I got to tell everybody I know. And that's how it's been from the very beginning. And, it's slow grassroots in the beginning. And again, we're in a small town in Florida. But slowly but surely, we just made the right connections. And, we have one major person that we've connected with who sends us a lot of celebrity clients, which is amazing. We're so grateful to him. But it's because we changed his life and his family.
Wow.
And so he really believes in it. And then from there, once you're in that world, it's like 1 degree of separation. It's insane, the people that we meet regularly. I just don't believe my life right now. But I love what we do. It's so awesome, like getting those stories back from people and they feel better and it's legitimate. If what we did wasn't legit, we wouldn't have these patients. So
yeah, it must be such a great feeling knowing you can empower people's lives.
Mm-hmm. Teach them. It's all about teaching. What are you putting in your mouth that's, again, I always say, not just giving you a stomach ache or you think you have a food allergy or, you need to be gluten-free or dairy-free or whatever. It could just be a genetic screw-up that we need to correct. And then also, what are you putting in your mouth that's making you feel crazy? Mm-hmm. What is bringing on the depression? What's bringing on anxiety or ADHD or OCD or this bad temper? I can see thyroid issues in families. I can see high blood pressure issues. One of the big things is, you can see a patient, especially if they've got that one red, it's called the MTHFR gene. If they have this one red one, I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if you or your family members have high blood pressure. And they're like, oh my God, we do. But every time you go to the doctor and they run all the tests, EKG, the heart monitors and all the things, it all comes out normal. And they're like, yeah, why is that? Well, then the doctor says it's idiopathic hypertension, which is just high blood pressure of an unknown origin. Idiopathic literally means we have no idea what this is caused from. So here's medication. We're just going to plaster, just give you this medication, this pharmaceutical, and then you just take that, and then that should clear it up. But it doesn't. It's just a Band-Aid effect, and then it brings on other side effects. And ultimately, if you look at the roots of the problem, it's this genetic break, and you can solve it with the right B12, zinc, and magnesium. It's not a big deal. Wow. And then I show people, I'm like, I'm not just trying to sell capsules. You can totally take a multivitamin and, solve it that way. But at the end of our report, it shows food-wise, how do I get more B12 in my diet? Here's a whole list of food. Mm-hmm. How do I get more folate or L-methionine or zinc or magnesium? And then it gives a list of foods. Of course, nobody ever eats perfectly. So,
right.
But yeah, you can correct all of this stuff with the right diet and supplementation.
Our entire healthcare industry is built off of a reactionary method to everything. And regardless, leaving alone all the financial reasons why that's true, why do you think it's not in their interest to do preventative medicine and sell people those services and goods also?
It's got to be the money. But there's a way to monetize it. But then again, look at the cost of a multivitamin. It's $30-$40 for the right multivitamin. It's not. Look at Vyvanse. It's $300-$400 a month if you don't have insurance. And even if you do have insurance, I think it still costs a boatload. So I think that's a major difference. It also, like diabetes, it's a $1 trillion business. It's incredible. They don't want that to go away. They don't want you to eat well. So look at the new food pyramid that came out that Joe Rogan posted. I'm sure you guys saw it, where it put Lucky Charms.
Oh, yeah.
Ahead of burgers or
that
steak.
Was a joke.
Yeah.
It's got to, I'm like, what am I missing here? But the fact it had frosted mini wheats and Lucky Charms on there, I'm like, okay, Kellogg's, we get it. You paid for the study.
Good lobbyists.
Right. And then guess what happens? You feed your kid Lucky Charms or even Cheerios in the morning or give them a bagel or a Pop-Tart. And then it's a full contact sport to get them into the car, to send them off to school. And then they get to school and then they can't focus and they're falling asleep or they're acting out, or now we're going to diagnose them with ADHD and then we're going to give them medication. And it's just a horrible circle that if you just tell your kid, have eggs and bacon in the morning and send them off that way, I promise you your kid will stay awake, will stay focused, and won't end up in the principal's office.
That's what you eat every morning.
Eggs and bacon every
Eggs
morning.
and bacon is
and
great.
sometimes just bacon.
Yeah, bacon's good.
Bacon, eggs are going up in price nowadays.
Oh
so
my
just,
God,
I
they
think,
got so expensive.
Sean, you've gotten me to take my health a lot more seriously lately. What do you want to get out of increased health? Is it a longer life? Is it just feeling healthier? What are you mostly looking for?
Longer life, help me sharpen my mind in business, be better at sports, just feel better overall. I mean, when I eat certain foods, I notice I feel way off, So for me, it's just increased my quality of life.
Awesome. Well, I think I always use this example I shouldn't say where. Okay. Because that would throw two restaurants under the bus. But okay, so
in a place
somewhere, where two really good Italian restaurants. One Italian restaurant I know is, your normal pizza joint, pasta, whatever. The other one is same thing, but they import everything from Italy. So if we go and take the kids, including my 14-year-old teenager and my nieces who are 8 and 5, if we take them to the place that, it's got great pizza, their pasta's amazing, it's delicious, they will have a full-blown meltdown by the end of the night. We're not sleeping, there's temper tantrums, they're throwing a fit the whole next day, it's a disaster. That is a direct correlation to the pasta, the pizza. I'll tell you why. If we go to the place that has imported from Italy, they're fine. They can eat a big old plate of spaghetti and meatballs, and they're totally good. They'll sleep fine. They'll wake up, go to school the next day, no issues.
Wow.
The reason is because in 1993, the government decided to spray our grain source with something called folic acid. Folic acid, most women know this word because when you become pregnant, you take a prenatal and they push folic acid on you. But if you have that MTHFR gene, the motherfucker gene, you cannot convert or methylate the folic acid, which is really just man-made, cheap vitamin B9. You can't methylate it or convert it into folate, which is the real form, the natural form of vitamin B9. And people with this gene break can't convert it, so it builds up as something called homocysteine in their system. And that's where the anxiety and the depression and the panic attacks and the issues come from, and the gut issues. So whenever you eat a big old piece of pizza and everybody goes, oh, I feel terrible afterwards, that is because it's got folic acid in it. But think about it. If you go to Italy and you have a bbig old piece of pizza there, you still feel great.
Wow.
Right?
That's good to know, because I gave up pizza because I feel so bad after.
Yep. Or people tell you go gluten-free, or, they have all these, do the cauliflower rice pizza or whatever. Ultimately, though, it's because, you can't convert you can't process folic acid is probably the case. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see when we see your results.
I have to ask this question because it's a hot topic. What are your thoughts on seed oils?
Oh, God, they're terrible. That is the new thing. Gary's got me all over now. There's the way that they refine it and process it is just gross. And now, okay, talking back on like modern medicine. So his daughter's in nursing school, and she's having a really hard time with answering these questions on these exams because she's like, okay, do I answer it the way that it should be, or do I answer it the way they've written it to be? And she has to answer what she feels like we know is the wrong way. So one of the questions was, I got away from the seed oil, but I'm coming back around, I swear. One of the questions was, what do you feed a newborn that's not gaining weight? So if they're not breastfeeding, you give them formula. And the answer is you give them this formula with folic acid and you add vegetable oil to it to fatten them up. And that was the right answer. And that makes me sick to my stomach. What in the vegetable oil is just like lard. I mean, you just don't. That's the worst kind of oil you could ever put in your body.
Wow.
But yeah, peanut oil, even sunflower oil, these seed oils are palm oil. But if you start looking at the back of the ingredients, it's everywhere.
It is.
It's everywhere.
It's in Chick-fil-A.
It's in everything. And so do you think a lot of the problems that you're finding in people, the imbalances, whatever you want to call them, is a result of all the processed foods?
Yes.
So is there anything else that you think is causing this? Did these problems exist 500 years ago?
They didn't exist when I was a kid. I was born in 78 and grew up an 80s baby. I ate Frosted Flakes. I had Cheerios. Yeah, we had Pop-Tarts. I mean, okay, not great, or healthy, but I didn't spin out after I ate a bowl of Cheerios. I was fine. But again, it's the government spraying that folic acid, and They call it enriched or fortified. So they've added vitamins to our food source, thinking it's good for us. And it's not if you can't, it's fine if you don't have that gene break. But if you do have the gene break, it's a direct correlation to people's anxiety and their depression and their ADD and their ADHD. And guess what? Now we're giving anti-anxiety medication, antidepressants, Adderall, Vyvanse. So it's a moneymaker.
Wow.
And then you look, you start looking back on it, and it's like, oh, look what company sprays the grain source. Now look what pharmaceutical company benefits with the anxiety medication or the antidepressants.
Yeah.
And they're all in bed with one another.
That's terrible. So in college, I was diagnosed with anxiety. I got prescribed Xanax, and it almost ruined my life.
Yep.
Completely.
It's terrible.
What's some advice you could give to people dealing with anxiety?
The biggest thing I would for sure, at least if you don't do our gene test, get it somewhere, get a test done, and have your doctor test you for MTHFR. And or if you don't want to pay for that test, look out for the words, flip boxes around, look in your pantry, look at the grocery store, watch what you're buying, and look for the words enriched or fortified. Think of all carbs: bread, pasta, rice, crackers, cookies, flour, anything that's carb related. If it says enriched wheat flour, enriched white pasta, or whatever, throw it in the trash can. That's the biggest advice I can give anybody that's suffering with anxiety or depression right now. And then buy things that are organic or imported. And it's got to really be from Italy. If you're getting imported pasta, it can't be like made in New Jersey. But they will say the words folic acid in the ingredients, or enriched or fortified. So look out for those words. The second ingredient you got to really pay attention to is a cheap B12 called cyanocobalamin. And if you see that, it's cyanide-based B12.
Like cyanide?
Like cyanide. So in the U.S., we have a single-dose toxicity rule, basically, that says we can put this in small doses in things, but if you wake up in the morning and you take a multivitamin that has the cheap B12 cyanocobalamin, which is about in every vitamin on the shelves out there, and then you pop, let's say, an emergency packet because you think, I'm going to get some extra vitamin C, so I have an emergency packet with cyanocobalamin. And then later in the day, you're like, I'm feeling a little dehydrated. I'm going to pop a liquid IV with cyanocobalamin. Then you feel really tired because you had all this crap in the morning. So you have a Monster Energy or Celsius, and I'm throwing a lot of companies under the bus right now, but I'm hoping to make this change. They all have cyanocobalamin. So now you've had something like 100,000% of your daily dose of B12 in the form of cyanocobalamin. And if you have two of these gene breaks, you can't process it. So now your anxiety is worse, your depression is worse, your ADD or ADHD is through the roof.
And now you need to buy all the medication to make all that feel better.
Correct.
Wow. So
It's wild, right? You're going to start looking at stuff and going, oh my God, it's everywhere.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I take a lot of those things she just named.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
A lot of people do. Bang is the only energy drink that has methylcobalamin, which is a good form of B12. So it's not like I promote energy drinks because they're not great for you. But if you're going to drink an energy drink, I say go Bang because at least it's methylcobalamin. I'm getting some thumbs up over here. But I wish that these companies would not cheap out and use cyanocobalamin, but they don't know any better. And even when we developed a multivitamin based on the things that we know people need to correct these gene breaks, I cannot tell you how many. It took us 2 years to put it together because they wouldn't go out of their way to source the good forms for us. So they were like, well, everybody else uses cyanocobalamin. Why don't you guys just use that? It's cheaper, it's more affordable, it's more, you can regularly find it because it's man-made in a laboratory. Methylcobalamin, hydroxycobalamin, and adenosylcobalamin are 3 forms of B12 that are found naturally in nature. It's hard to source those, but methylcobalamin and hydroxycobalamin, if you find a good vitamin, those are 2 good forms. But again, we'll be able to see what you guys need because then there is a little gene break that even methylcobalamin isn't as good for people with a certain gene break. And then that's when we would recommend hydroxy because that's the better form, the best form of B12. But nobody's going to pay that money to put it into an energy drink.
Right.
We were talking about diets on the way over here. We basically both concluded that while we are not experts, that we always feel better the less processed foods we eat. What diet do you feel best on? What diet do you feel best on also, Sage?
Yeah, for me, it's limiting grains and sugar. So I'm not sure what type of diet that is, but for me, that seems to be what works.
Keto works for a lot of our patients, and it lowers their, not only is it lowering, it's just getting their blood work back in order and their sugars under control and everything, but it lowers their anxiety. Direct correlation, again, to folic acid being in the grains. So when people say, oh my God, I stopped eating carbs and I feel so much better, and it's not just from you're not feeling bloated, gassy, constipated, it's also a mental state. So if you find that, wow, if I didn't eat a sandwich with bread, or I didn't wake up and have cereal and I feel so much better, that it is a direct correlation to being allergic basically to that folic acid that's in the grains.
Wow.
Yep. So that's why a lot of people do well on a keto diet or a paleo diet. Because if you do a keto diet, you really have to marry a keto diet. You can't date it. You got to commit. Otherwise, your triglycerides could go sky high. But a paleo diet is sometimes easier for people to follow. But it really, at the end of the day, they're both low carb, low sugar.
That's great. This has been such incredible advice.
Thank you.
Do you have any closing thoughts or where people can find out more?
So if you go to www.10x, so 10x healthtest.com, you can order this test. It's, again, this gene test you'll take it once in your life. As soon as we know what those 5 markers are, we're going to know exactly what you're deficient in, what we need to supplement with. So your vitamin list will be totally different than yours. And it's very specific to what your gene breaks are. So you can easily order that. It's a cheek swab, and we literally just do it. I mean, you can do it yourself. You ship it back in the prepaid envelope it comes in, goes to the lab, and we get results in a couple of weeks. And then we put a specific protocol together for you. If you wanted to do blood testing, if you go to 10xhealthsystem.com, that's our main website. It gives a lot of more information about other things that we do, but you can order blood testing on there as well. I recommend both, but if you can only afford one or the other, I would say start with the gene test because it's easy and it'll solve so many issues. If any of those symptoms I listed off, relate to anybody, get the gene test done. It's amazing.
That's incredible. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. We're going to take these gene tests and possibly make a follow-up video. So we'll see you guys next week.
Awesome.